So in December of 2024, a group of friends decided to tackle the Baviaanskloof in South Africa, a beautiful piece of landscape, on their first ever adventure bike trip, riding KTMs, Husqvarnas, and setting out with a Land Cruiser as a support vehicle. We had our first injury to a motorbike, starting about 2 kilometers from where we pulled away in Stellenbosch, Western Cape. The bike just decided to give up, and so we changed motorcycles, got one off the trailer, and off we went. The idea was to go on dirt roads, to ignore asphalt, tarmac as much as possible, and to tackle the dirt roads of South Africa. Now, all of us being completely new to the adventure bike scene, have got experience on motocross tracks, enduro tracks, and just frankly riding motorcycles since we were small kids. But this is our first time on adventure bikes. Of course, it was all about friendship, it was camaraderie, helping each other when things go wrong, and just enjoying the landscape that South Africa and the Western Cape specifically in this case has to offer. Here we can be seen traveling from Grabouw, taking the back roads, just through Grabouw, through the farmlands. We went down the Viljoenshoop road and then traveled mostly dirt, had to take some tar. It's unavoidable. As much as we can, we stayed on the dirt. Heading up to Malgas to cross the pontoon, the famous pontoon at Malgas. This is free. There's no charge for using the pontoon, all paid for by the government, which is great. And these guys are very efficient, brilliant at their job, and they're well organized, very well organized. This is a beautiful river, and it's really where one starts to realize that it's time to relax and just slow things down, take in nature, and not be in a hurry. Just relax, get some food. Skilpadbessie in Stillbaai is a beautiful campsite. I'd recommend this to anybody who has time to do this sort of thing. It is just fantastic, that little boma they've got there with the fireplace and concrete chairs and wooden tables. You can just relax at. The slight breeze that we had calmed down totally in the evening, didn't affect us at all. We just had a wonderful time around a fire, and David, of course, had a massive mattress which he couldn't fit into his tent, which was quite funny. Stan had a 6-man tent for himself. Brian, Jake, myself, I'm Wade, and Andre Lowe, we were a little more organized, I'd say. As soon as we got to Knysna, the weather changed, as it does. But because of the weather in Knysna, you also get all this greenery and this beauty, this lush environment. It's just stunning. And don't get confused, the weather here is warm, it's not cold. Although there's rain, it's not over humid, it's actually just nice. So this is the road which leads down to Charlesford farm, which can be seen on the left there, and that's where we camped. And I'd say that this is highly recommended. The owner is just a fantastic guy. He's used to hosting adventure seekers, so he's always got advice on whether the rivers are flooded or not, and any other handy hints. He knows people all over, up in the Baviaanskloof as well, and he's there to just give you a helping hand. and some good advice. Up on the left there, you can actually see some what look like cliff faces. There's paths all along that, and it's just got all these baboons sitting on them. It's not very clear on the video, but there's just, I don't know how many baboons, but plenty of them just sitting there watching you go by. This is really a beautiful landscape. This would have been the first river crossing, and this is where having high boots came in handy. I'd say that one of the riders, Stan, was wearing ankle boots, and that sort of counted against him in this little river crossing over here. That's Stan over there. You can see his low boots. Brian went through first. Don's finding the rocks a bit tricky there, and his boots are full of water. Jake is waiting to go over next. But like Brian, he's got higher boots. So Brian and Jake and Stan are good mates. They've been friends for many years. And Brian and Jake are brothers. Oh. Brian's having a little bit of fun in the mud. So coming into the campsite here, we encountered a group of scouts having a little camp here. They were very pleasant. It was just a great experience all in all for everybody. Beautiful campsite, good ablution facilities, and just totally in peaceful nature. Decided to set up camp fairly close to the ablution blocks, not right on top of them, but fairly close. Okay, Brian went through his Stan, managed to keep his boots a bit more dry this time. And Jake coming through there. And the trick here is to actually stay on one side and to never cross the center line. David Golding with his Jeep. His slow but steady Jeep. Has a support vehicle with Kent Grimbick sitting there as a passenger. Andre Lowe there with his Land Cruiser, the support vehicle, fully loaded. Back into the beautiful Knysna Forest. Hard to describe the feeling one gets in a forest like this unless you've been there. To some it would seem obvious, but not always to everybody, that being on a motorcycle is different to being in even a nice 4x4 which is kitted out with all the gear. Some reason, even though you're wearing a helmet, you still feel this feeling of freedom, as if you're just floating through nature with lots of power, and it's a different feeling entirely. You seem to absorb the feeling of being outdoors more. This is the part of South Africa that people should get to know. These are the things you want to do when you're in South Africa, these nature tours. The road's less traveled. So the one thing about adventure biking is the need to stand, and people often wonder why adventure bikers stand like that all the time, and the reason for that is it's very comfortable. You actually have a lot of control over the bike, believe it or not, and you are very comfortable as opposed to just being seated all the time. When you've got a passenger on an adventure bike, that is taken away from the ride. If you've got luggage on the back, that's actually fine. You can stand perfectly well. In subsequent rides, you know, we've been heavily laden and still you can stand and be very comfortable. You can actually ride for quite far without having your backside getting sore. Now, I would recommend not riding with a passenger if you can do that. That is to say, if your wife doesn't complain too much about it. Of course, the ideal way to go is to have your wife on her own motorbike. If you want to do a quick adventure trip, for those who have adventurous wives, that's the perfect answer. So South Africa is a very large country. It actually has all different terrains. You can literally do one trip and just find the dry bush of the Karoo, or this greenery that you see here in the Knysna Forest, all on one day's ride. It's a beautiful country in that way. You can already see the terrain changing there. The flora adapting to the new weather conditions. So this was in early December 2024. I believe the dates were the 5th to the 12th of December. And bit of unusual weather for that time of year. Being summer, South Africa almost always has very blue skies and sunshine. But the Knysna area in general definitely has more of this sort of weather at this time of year. It does make it better for the dirt road riding when you're following each other and there's not too much dust flying in your face. Prince Alfred Pass, it's beautiful. Definitely another winding experience that you need to explore. It's a very winding pass. It's got snakes on it, as you'll soon enough discover. You wouldn't want to be going and just sitting on the left to have a look out without watching where you sit. And there she is, the snake trying to cross the road, and she makes it without an injury. We decided to stop in at the deck. Beautiful place, beautiful setting, scenery. Just grab a bit of lunch, some pizza. Of course, we'd never have had any brandy and coke or anything because we're responsible riders. No ways that any of us would have done that. You can see the whole landscape changing, vegetation changing, and the scenery here is just awesome. It's absolutely breathtaking when you're riding. Just experiencing this is priceless. Trying not to laugh. I must just say that if you're ever planning on doing this little trip from, for example, Stellenbosch or Somerset West or Cape Town, and you know, sort of take the back roads up to Stillbaai and up George Knysna way, there are plenty of dirt roads. You have to do the Prince Alfred Pass. It's an absolute must. The Vlucht is fantastic. There's Angie's. In fact, we'll be staying at Angie's G-Spot this December. So we're doing this again at the beginning of December. I believe we leave on the 1st of December. Maybe we'll have a more exciting video to upload. As this was our first time, we weren't exactly focused on the media and just more focused on what's going to happen next. So this is just before Uniondale, and for those who don't know, Uniondale is very famous for its ghost hitchhiker. The hitchhiker actually, if you go and read the Encyclopedia Britannica version of the story, they will tell you that her surname is either Grimbeek, which is our surname, funny enough, and there aren't many Grimbeeks in the country and they all are related, or her surname was Roo, or LaRue possibly. That's the Encyclopedia Britannica version of the story. But anyway, this is a hitchhiker, and she basically climbs into your vehicle, has a chat with you, and then disappears, and has left many people freaked out, both motorcyclists and people in cars or trucks. There's a movie made about it. I can't remember the name, but worth watching in any way if you're into the history of South Africa. A little bit of a drama take on the ghost of Uniondale. Now, to be frank, I don't blame her for wanting to relive the experience of these roads. This pass before Uniondale is just breathtaking. And there it happened. We were on the highway at about 120 kilometers per hour, and that happened through that overloaded vehicle into quite the drift. Anyway, here we are at the Makkedat Cave in the Baviaanskloof. This is beautiful. This is something one has to experience. Those non-smokers there are just having a puff to celebrate. This is the Makkedat Cave. It can sleep 10 people. It has an outdoor bathroom. It's got beds, very basic mattresses, this sort of thing. That's the bathroom, which is almost caught, I believe it was Kent, was it? It was Jake trying to have a shower there. So the video was sped up for obvious reasons. leaving the Makkedat Cave. So the Makkedat Cave is up. You can see that hill behind us there. That is where the Makkedat Cave is, at the top of, very top of that. And this is in the Baviaanskloof. So this is actually the dirt road that runs right through the Baviaanskloof. This is quite something to behold. And once again, our camera work doesn't capture all the beauty. There are cliffs, and which you'll probably see a bit later, but this place is just breathtaking. It is absolutely awesome. The weather was perfect in the beginning of December, which is the reason why we're doing it again this year, the same time. I can't remember how many river crossings there are in the Baviaanskloof, but I believe it was 62 or something like that. I can't even remember, but whatever it was, we counted them. Andre Lowe sat and counted them while driving his Land Cruiser, just to double check. And let me tell you, it's not an easy task to remember what the last number was, funny enough, because you constantly direct your attention to the beauty around you. But anyway, the number was accurate. Whatever it is that they advertised, that is the correct number of river crossings, somewhere around about 60 or 70, I believe it was. Now there are places to stay along the way here, a couple of farms that have campsites. Obviously to us the Makkedat Cave was something which we will definitely relive this year in 2025, so we've already booked that. It's awesome to wake up now. The sun is up early, and so at 4 o'clock in the morning you've got the sun on you and you want to get out there. So that was actually good, got us up and going, despite probably only hitting the sack at 3 o'clock. So a bit of a rough night there. Also very interesting geology here. When you sometimes, if you look to the left or right, you'll notice how the rocks have bent into the shape of a upside down U from the tectonic plate shifting from Noah's great flood, when the water came up from the bottom of the earth and just forced all these rocks up, and they bent, and you can just imagine the forces that had to occur for that to happen, and it's quite amazing. It can all be seen here. The river crossings actually get more and more spectacular as you go along. So we're going from, let's just call it the Willowmore side towards the Patensie in that direction. Or donkey cart. So this trip was 2,506 kilometers of dirt. Actually, the trip we downloaded was a map from a guy named Craig Marshall, who's very, very well known in South Africa for his off-road maps. local residents, donkeys. The Eastern Cape government uses the money generated by thrill seekers riding through the Baviaanskloof to maintain it. They've been buying up farms in like a U-shape all around the farms which still exist there. And I don't think the farmers there are always too happy about that, because the government's basically surrounding them with their land. But I suppose as long as they maintain it a bit, the peace will be kept. Andre coming with the Land Cruiser, David and Kent in the Jeep behind him. With Brian and Jake and then Stan there. Escaping their busy lives of business. Just enjoying the beauty and the surroundings of the Baviaanskloof in the Eastern Cape, South Africa. Always take some time just to look around. Now that is something which we'll do more of this year, much more of, is taking our time, stopping and just enjoying nature. That was probably the takeaway from this trip, was the lesson that one should definitely take more time and break your trip into smaller increments, and just, especially in the Baviaanskloof, don't try and just do it in a day, unless you're going to come double back and then spend 2 days just enjoying it. There's so much to see, there's so many little side routes, it's absolutely stunning. Now, depending on your luck, I guess, the Baviaanskloof will have either just flooded or not, and the river crossings, when it's just flooded, can be really tricky, especially at Smithskrol, the famous Smithskrol that everybody always talks about. It's about all they talk about when they talk about the Baviaanskloof, because that crossing can be really treacherous. But the advice that we got from very experienced riders who have done this trip many times was walk your motorbike through Smithskrol, and I think that wasn't good advice. You must just ride through it. Trying to walk it wasn't always the best idea, because it takes very long and it's not as exciting, frankly. Trailer was submerged many times. So another thing that I just thought of mentioning now is that the bike on the right is Stan, so not him, but the bike on the left and the bike which the camera is on, Brian and Jake's bikes, they're actually wearing these chest protectors. You can see there it's black with red chest and back and arm protectors. Those have airbags built into them, and there's no cord, so they basically measure the gyrometer, measures the angle at which you fall, and I don't remember the name of whatever it is, but it measures the speed and the angle at which you fall, and it then determines that the airbag should explode. So this happened to me on this trip. I'm not in the video, but you on my bike, but I did fall, and within a split second the airbags deployed and saved me from some broken ribs. And if you can afford it, they're called Alpine Star. They're made by Alpine Star, and anyway, I can't remember the full name of the airbag system, but you can look them up. They're definitely worth. We paid €1,000 for them. In South Africa they're about 27,000 rand.
I need to go though. Oh, bliksem. Jeepers, bro. All over the place, eh? You still up? Okay, we'll just plug this in after.
As you can see, that was a bit of an experience there for Jake. The rocks in that river are quite impressive and loose, and having a bit of experience at higher speeds, one quickly realizes that when you don't want to drown your new baby, it's in the river, and you're a bit nervous of it, it can get really tiring. As I mentioned before, the bikes here are KTM 690, 790 and Husqvarna 701. Those are the three bikes that feature in this video. So this is a 790 on the left, 690 in front, and the 701, which is essentially the same bike as a 690. Look at the magnificence of that landscape ahead. So on the left there you have a dam, which we'd obviously like to next time have a little swim in, but for this time we were just pressing on. So the river that you could see us swimming in earlier was just stunning, absolutely beautiful. There were a group of farmers, local farmers there, who were enjoying their day fishing and just hanging out at the river. Now this attempt at a concrete road is very, very poorly built, and I think people have sort of tried to add into it along the way, but it actually throws you around more than it helps. So you've just got to keep your wits about you and stay on the best side. Actually gets worse as it gets higher. I would say that the contractors weren't the most experienced, and this has definitely not been maintained. Now that all adds to the adventure, of course, so one should say thank you. So the driver of the support vehicle, the Land Cruiser, Andre, is really nervous of heights. So these passes were an experience for him. He didn't enjoy the height aspect of it. So he just stayed hugging the sides of the mountain, making sure that he wasn't too close to the edge. Finally some water. Let's take some time to just cool down. And being South Africa, of course, there was a snake floating on the top of this water, also enjoying the cooling down session. And if you look across, I think you can see it in this video. If you look across on the other side of the, this is Jake with the camera, Brian on the right. Oh, little bit of hand fishing there. Kent in the middle. No, we didn't see the snake, but there was a snake floating along the top of that river. Nobody even seemed to care. It was too hot. Just enjoyed the swim with the snake. Here we're leaving Baviaanskloof on our way to Patensie, the buzzing metropolis of Patensie. Hoping to go and book in at the hotel. We hadn't booked any accommodation for this night, so we were hoping to stay at the hotel, which is sort of known for hosting adventure riders. Take some time to have a shower, freshen up a bit at the hotel. Just enjoying this natural beauty and being so far removed from anybody or anything definitely soothes the soul. You could see a camping site on the right hand side, which we weren't stopping at because we're going to stay in the hotel in Patensie. The turn-off on the right was also a camping site, which will come in handy as you'll soon see. So, we cut the footage of the hotel, which was closed, and the town, I would say, I wouldn't stay there. So yeah, back out to the campsite, which we had just passed, and we spent the night at that campsite. Beautiful place. We had it all to ourselves, which was stunning on the river. It was another good night for the tour. one can clearly see the difference between the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape roads. The Western Cape obviously far better maintained than the Western Cape.
Daar ry Jake. Daar kom ons jeep. Daar's die pollutions.
So Brian's just
Daar's die rivier.
making a video for his friend. Tell him about the campsite, explaining it in Afrikaans. This is state level, so getting from...
This is after some hard riding, let me tell you. We're at the Royal Hotel in state level. So we just came from...
And another flat wheel. So we went from Baviaanskloof to basically Patensie over the mountain, which is where I fell, and deployed my airbags to state level, and then off to Willowmore. And this is the hotel in Willowmore, where we ended up spending 4 nights.
So for everyone that's not on the trip, what's happened is us 3 lighties have carried on because the buckies only ride tomorrow.
Okay, so the video is going
So
to cut now.
The rest, or is it the rest? Yeah.
And
for lunch.
that's because we
then
couldn't
we'll be
get
heading to
tires for the
Barrydale.
Land Cruiser.
So yeah.
So the
also
boys
very
carried
lucky
on
spot
their
to
bikes, and Andrelo and I stayed there with the Land Cruiser for about 4 days, waiting for the tires to arrive in the middle of nowhere. Good trip was had by all, and we're definitely doing it again this year. Thanks for watching. We'll have better quality next time. We promise. This was our first attempt.